Fine. Right, there's more people coming in. We've got South Africa coming into the room now with Jean. What I'm going to do is we're going to go, because we only got an hour, and we've got more people coming in. And we want to get going. I'll just keep adding them and giving them a quick hello when they come in. So hello, Jean.
Hello, everybody.
Straight off
Hi,
the
Jean.
beach.
Hi,
Robert.
Jean.
Hi, Jean.
Hello.
Robert, long time no see. Hope you had a good
Long
time.
time.
Hi, Robert.
So
Hey, how you doing?
I'm going to
Hey,
bring
what's happening? You got a haircut.
I had them all cut.
Oh, I had them all cut. You just got a haircut.
got no idea what that would mean in English because it doesn't translate. But anyway, everybody, welcome to Crown Pub. Today we're talking about LinkedIn. It's good to see everybody. There's more people coming in, so I'm multitasking, which is a huge challenge for a dyslexic northerner like me.
We
today
know.
We've got, today we've got.
Noticed.
We've got. Thanks very much. Today we've got Nigel with us once again to talk about LinkedIn. He's the LinkedIn Oracle. And Nigel, just to get things going and to let me catch up on letting people in, can you just give a quick introduction?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for inviting me, Kelvin. And it's like seeing a bunch of friends here. You know, I recognise a lot of the faces here, so it's terrific. Yeah, my name's Nigel Cliffe. I'm a LinkedIn trainer and consultant, mentor and coach is kind of how I define it. What do? I help people through LinkedIn get into the conversations that count. It's as simple as that. You know, we can use this platform as a networking tool to get into the right conversations that open up the framework for a discussion that might lead to business if that's your goal. There can be many goals on LinkedIn, but most people here kind of develop relationships. But what are some of the others? Recruitment, finding partners to work with, developing thought leadership for your profile, for your personal brand. There's a few as well, probably on the side of that. But primarily, most of the people I kind of work with are here for kind of development purposes of some sort. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, before we get to questions, I've got a couple of points I'm just going to run through. So pretty much LinkedIn now is the #1 platform, isn't it? I mean, there's Zing and there's, you know, there's other platforms, but it's LinkedIn's where it's at, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that, wouldn't I? But you know, if I hung my clogs up on LinkedIn, you know, tomorrow training, I still couldn't deny that it is the only platform that provides that connection between what is effectively the world's largest database of business professionals. You know, over 850 million people around the world now have a LinkedIn, you know, account. So say LinkedIn. There's a possibility that, you know, 10% of those, in my estimation, could be fake duplicate accounts. But that's another story altogether. But you don't find that anywhere else. So for the time being, you know, LinkedIn is the only game in town, and therefore it's unique in that regard, I think.
Yeah, and one of the things, so I love LinkedIn and being in sales, spend a lot of time on there, and once you get past the recruiters, Dorinda, you know, who are always reaching out to you, the one thing that the negative side of LinkedIn for me is the people who are always contacting you every day. I can transform your business into something amazing by LinkedIn sales optimization and so forth. And there seems to be a growth of that now, doesn't there?
Yeah, it's a nightmare. You know, it really, it brings the platform down. You know, it actually deters a lot of genuine people from thinking this is just a place where I'm just going to get spammed to death, you know. And sadly, the barrier for entry for people to deploy those tactics, either paid or unpaid, is huge. And to my mind, LinkedIn should clamp down on that a lot more than they do. It would be easy for them to create algorithms that spot this fake, you know, or repeat messaging. But for whatever reason, they seem not to bother as much as I would if it was my product. The reality of it is it actually probably adds to LinkedIn's overall engagement factor that they allow this to happen. So it's kind of it's a chicken and egg weird thing that goes on there. I do think you can steer your personal brand and your activity away from that kind of spammy climate just by being accurate about and more strategic with what you publish, what you talk about, what you say in your profile. You know, I tend not to get too much of it, and when I do, I just kind of ignore it. I don't let it even go into my brain. I just ignore a connection request that's trying to sell me off the bat. You know, if something gets through and I do connect and they pitch me up, just disconnect straight away. I'm kind of used to turning it off, you know, the light off on that very quickly to try and not let it ruin my experience of the rest of the good things that happen on LinkedIn.
Yeah, no, I get that. Do some people rate themselves about how many contacts they've got? Do they take, it's to some people using LinkedIn, is it important to them just to get a high number of connections? To me, it's always
Yeah,
the quality of the connections.
absolutely. It seems to be a goal in itself, like what's the point in that? Let's face it, I'm not going to, for anybody not in the UK, there's a program called Get Me Out of Here, I'm a Celebrity, or I'm a Celebrity to Get Me Out of Here. I'm not going to be on that program anytime soon, and therefore I don't need hundreds of thousands of connections or followers, to make me successful. In most people's business to business world, let's face it, we don't need too many quality connections to really improve our life if we're building relationships that turn into opportunity with a relatively small network. So to put that into context, I've got just over 6,000 connections, which to many is a lot. But believe me, if from day one, my endeavor and my goal had been just to grow numbers, I'd have hit LinkedIn's ceiling of 30,000 many years ago, and now I'll be struggling to add a new connection, with that number. But I just figured it was never a model that would work for me. I'm not interested in massive audiences. I really aren't. I'd rather have 1,000 people I have a genuine relationship with of some sort than 100,000 people I can't keep in touch with and I'm never going to develop a relationship with. So for me,
Nigel,
quality over quantity. Yeah.
Can you define the difference between connections and followers?
Sure. The difference has become more apparent actually in the last 12 months because an increasing number of people are turning their LinkedIn account into default follow rather than default connect. And the difference between a connection is that on a connection, we have kind of a direct link. On a follow, there's nothing stopping any one of us following each other without it necessarily becoming a connection. So I've got just over 6,000 connections and just over 8,000 followers. So 2,000 people have chosen to follow me ish over the people I've accepted a connection request from. And actually, to answer that question with a bit more meat, Mark, if you request a connection with somebody and they decline, LinkedIn has now made it such that you become a follower anyway. So I quite regularly, reject connection requests, but it doesn't prevent them remaining a follower, if that makes sense. So the net outcome of this is your followers will grow at a greater rate typically than your connections. Now there is another argument that says, well, if we're getting into some weeds here a bit, but if I want to refine my feed to a higher level of relevance for me, then why don't I technically unfollow some of my connections? That's an interesting model. So it means that what you could do, I don't deploy this strategy personally, but you could take a view of a connection that you accept for whatever reason, and then you think, well, they're not really adding any value to my life after a couple of weeks, a month, whatever, and then you unfollow. So you don't disconnect, you just unfollow. The net effect of that could be that the experience you have on LinkedIn from your daily feed improves because you've got more relevancy of the people that remain because you've kind of cut off the ones that are not adding any value. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a bit of a weird concept. The other thing I would add on that point, because it's also quite interesting, is if any of you have turned on creator mode, which is a feature of LinkedIn we now have available to us to sort of turn on for free. It automatically turns your profile into follow as default rather than connect as default. So when you turn on creator mode, you're automatically going to have more followers by virtue of the fact that's what they see when they visit your profile. And if like many people don't have a sophisticated understanding of LinkedIn, they're just going to go follow, on that button when they see it. So that has led to many people developing an increasing number of followers, but it might also mean that they have a decreasing number of new connections. And the argument goes, once you've got beyond, well, the figure could be argued, but anything between 1,000 or 5,000 connections, why do you want more connections? You're happy to have followers. And if you want to reach out to connect to somebody with a reason, then you're gonna still do it. So yeah, interesting dynamics there. I think perhaps LinkedIn are trying to steer us away from thinking connections are the be all and end all, and that a followership is as good a outcome for LinkedIn at least as anything else. And I kind of see that it kind of works for me.
So is LinkedIn trying to get people by the followers in the followers in connecting people? Are they trying to get more engagement? So are they trying to make everything more central, of people? So it's on LinkedIn and not on email. Is that their goal? Where they going with
Oh
it?
yeah, I mean, without doubt, the single probably goal of LinkedIn is to increase engagement, because with increased engagement comes an increased time. The longer time you spend on LinkedIn, the more promoted content ads they're going to have the opportunity to show you. So yeah, the more engagement, which as a percentage is a constant growth statistic, proportional to numbers as well. That's a good thing for LinkedIn. More time on the platform, more opportunities to put promoted content in front of your eyeballs.
Yeah, Robert's asked a question in chat. How do you judge who to call and who to keep?
Quite simple. Do you add value to my life, or am I adding value to yours? If the answer to that is yes, then let's remain friends. If somebody is not adding any value, then let's not be friends. Let's disconnect. Let's just be real about this. I don't need connections. Do any of us need connections? I would imagine most people in this call would be successful with a handful of significant new pieces of business in any given 12 months. Think of what a good client looks like in your business. How many of those do you need in the next 12 months to make your environment successful? And the answer to that is usually less than 10. So what's the point in adding? I'm in a group where somebody was complaining this week. Oh, I've just been told I can't add any more connections to my LinkedIn account this week. What have you done? Well, I've added about 100 this week. Oh, what's the point of that? Are they just connection whores? What's going on? I don't see the point. I'd rather have one valuable new relationship than boast 1,000 new connections. What's the point of that? And the fact that I can only do business with a relatively limited number of those connections anyway means that my personal strategy, and the one I talk about and train about, is let's develop more meaningful relationships with a much smaller bunch of people who can actually change our lives, than try and be everything to all people, because that doesn't work.
And with all this information, all this engagement, and all the chit chat we have on there, and messaging and all that, is Microsoft, the owner of LinkedIn, are they collecting all that information? Is it all responsibly managed? Should we be worried about what they're building a file up on our business, on us, and how we're...
I think if I was worried about that one, I'd have exited a long time ago. I think that door's open and will never get closed. Microsoft does own LinkedIn. I might expect that Microsoft, when they took over LinkedIn, had a bigger impact on kind of the strategy around LinkedIn's future direction. But it seems that LinkedIn acts still pretty independently of Microsoft. So that's a good sign. I was kind of worried in the first few months of that takeover, thinking what's going to happen. But that's several years ago now, so I'm no longer worried about that. But if we were worried about the data, we'd have shut shop a long time ago. I kind of think everything I do, well, the truth is every stroke of a keyboard I make is feeding some engine somewhere with a very insightful piece of intelligence about Nigel Cliffe. I mean, I could possibly frighten any one of you on the call to the extent to which I don't know you, but I could reveal in front of us right now staggeringly accurate information that is driven entirely through every keyboard stroke you make on not just on LinkedIn, but on social media, emails, anywhere. Data is being gathered about us every second, and would become very profilable as a consequence of all that data we freely provide.
But even when you're a bit drunk and you had a bit too many, and you put some posts out, the wrong kind of post, all that information.
Too many tequilas.
Yeah. Tequilas, Warren.
No.
Yeah. If you're not familiar with it, just look up a product called Crystal Knows. All right, that's Crystal, Crystal, Knows, Knows. It's a product I had for many years, and it allows me to I mean, I don't use it all the time. Don't misinterpret this. But if I want to understand a person a little bit more deeply, particularly if I'm in an early relationship with them, and I want to know how to stimulate them with a better crafted email of introduction, this technology will basically say, Mark wishes to be approached with, hey Mark, Mark likes emojis, keep it light-hearted, don't give him detail. Conversely, Rob, he likes a spreadsheet when he's looking at the content and information, so give him the nth degree, because if you don't give him that, he won't even begin the Now that amount of insightful information about each of us, particularly in an early business relationship mode, is highly insightful, and I have to say is incredibly accurate, frighteningly accurate, if I'm honest.
I've just put Jean Lloyd in it, and I'm blushing, honestly. I'm blushing. Jean, don't put your name in it. Whatever you do, you're going to be satisfied.
Well, people say to me, I once had an experience. I don't know if we're going down a tangent here, but I once had a solicitor. This is many years ago in a room doing some public training. I think it was in Sheffield. When I got to the point in a day's training when this topic came up, she sort of said, hey, I'm not on. I don't have Facebook. I'm here. I'm just beginning to understand what LinkedIn's about before putting any information on there. I'm a solicitor. I don't share things. I'm very private. You won't find me on there. Lay back in the chair. Carry on. And so I said, well, where do you work again? And I pulled up a profile, and there it was, and everything it said about her, I have to say, was. I didn't know the lady, but she literally went from this sort of laid back position of, to like, she literally stood up, gripping the table like this, like, how does it know this about me? It was so accurate. It was just stunning. So, yeah.
And Robert put in there, you think, of course, Microsoft got it. They bought LinkedIn. What was it you put in there? The primary reason for them acquiring it, Robert. That's what you think. Big fingers. That's the problem.
On, you can do it.
You can do it. Yes, go on.
Yeah, I do. That's and I was at a conference many years ago where that was something that was brought up as a major concern, is what are you going to do with the data that's in there and things of that nature. And they said, well, that was our primary interest, or whoever the representative was, that was our primary interest in gathering it, because it helps us make better things. I think Microsoft 360 might, counter that point, but whatever the issue is that almost any company that acquires another company where it's data gathering, that's what they want. That's the value that's there, especially if what you're doing is free. Imagine if, some people are paying for LinkedIn on the professional level, and there's some useful features that come along with it, but the majority of people are on it for free. So the only value is the data that's being gathered from it, where they are, who they speak to, who they connect with, and in many cases what they say. And they have the algorithms to be able to process that data at the speed of an electron, to inform other decisions that they're making about business. It's, first of all, it's smart, because if there's a tool there, you use it. That's what it is. If you have to invent a reason to use it, you're probably not very smart. But if you can see a value to it, then you're going for it. That's the value of LinkedIn. LinkedIn is providing Microsoft with a ton of information. It also provides value to the users. You have to decide whether you want to participate in the world as it is today or not. It's pretty simple. So.
Yeah, and the truth of it, it's hard to sort of step off that world, isn't it? Somewhere we have a digital connection with something, be it a bank, having a credit card. It's really hard to live off grid these days, even if you're determined to do it. We've got connections somewhere, and any one of those connections, opens up to the rest of our lives. So, anybody who thinks, well, I'm intent on keeping my data private, forget it. Have you ever been on the internet? Yeah. Well, you're already plugged then. Somebody's got your data already.
This makes the point. And I have a minimal amount. I know people who have 10, 12 screen swipes worth of apps, all providing some sort of service that they find valuable. I try to groom that every once in a while to try to, or cull it to get rid of the things that are, have either been acquired or whatever the case is. But everybody's providing information to a lot of different people. So, if you're unaware of that, then your naivete is your fault. And if I've made you aware of it and it's to your benefit, I'm glad to have helped. But otherwise, you're participating in a business ecosystem when you're on LinkedIn and many other apps as well.
Yeah, and not even on, in your email, through your email, whatever email provider you have, the context, the semantic nature of understanding you is there. I mean, Dorinda, I've just been looking at. I won't bring up your screen. I know we know each other. Do you mind me using an example? But what I can tell you about Dorinda is what comes naturally to her is to try and reduce and avoid structure and bureaucracy. She loves bouncing between topics in a conversation. She loves sharing big, inspiring ideas and feel comfortable speaking to a new person. I know that personally because we've had conversations. What energizes you? Interesting ideas, peer recognition, new friendships, innovation. What drains Dorinda? Not being able to share opinions, lack of creativity in an environment when others nitpick on the details, having her ideas closed down before they've been considered. Dorinda, would you say all those things are accurate of your personality? Oh, you're on mute.
You're on mute.
Oh, we can't.
Can't
Can't
hear
hear
you,
Dorinda.
Sorry, I'm just saying, are you on the sofa behind me, Nigel? You must be able to tell because yeah, it is. It's very accurate, and yeah, I hate nitpickers, but I do love meeting new people and I love sharing ideas. So yeah.
So I mean, taking that one further, then. So if I went delving into tips, let's say I was looking to let me just find.
Just don't say anything bad, Nigel. Like I'd love
No,
to know. I don't know.
I'm looking for all the good stuff.
That's so close to saying, like, I like to play volleyball on the beach and drink, white wine. My skin crawls when I read things about, people are passionate about, how ink toner works or something like that. So.
What's wrong with that? I don't get what's wrong with that.
What's wrong with ink toner?
I'm passionate about web to print. I really am passionate. I love web to print. I think it's great.
Yeah, I'm passionate and love it. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we're probably going to a tangent here. So yeah.
No, but it's really interesting, Nigel. You are right. Any information you have out there, somebody somewhere is reading it, aren't they? And like you say, you'd be naive. You can't live off grid. Well, all right, it's very rare to live completely off grid now. And we have to accept it and we have to move with it, don't we? And we have to try and enjoy it. And look at this event now that Kelvin does. He's changed so many lives having this on during lockdown. People, rather than being depressed, drinking on their own, or it's connecting. It's a way of connecting. Yeah.
The world has changed whether we like it or not, and it's not going to go back. So exactly right. Yes, I get fed up of the spam and the stupid selling messages and the daft stuff that goes on. But you know what? For a greater majority of the time, I enjoy the features of what this technology delivers. It delivers this environment. It delivers this possibility. For us to make new friendships and refer each other to opportunities when they arise. So what's not to love about that? Trump, as I referred to earlier, trumping around the streets of London 40 years ago. Do I want to swap that? No way. I much prefer this, But
the only thing is we can't have Jean's crisps. I can't reach into here and get some crisps.
Yeah, it's a massive bag as well.
It's a massive bag, and I'm really hungry. But apart from the crisps, it's still nice to get together with everyone, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. And that's the great thing. One of the great things about LinkedIn, friendships are formed. That I might never meet some of the people that I've become genuine friends with on this platform. And I know that if I met them in person, we'd instantly be like, we've met many times before in our lives. So, you know, again, that's something to be valued, that I really do value from that. And I know there's a lot of people who support me and I could lean on should I have a need to, you know, and that's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful supportive environment. But you know, but you have to work at it. It doesn't just happen. You know, you've got to have a strategy and connect with the right people, and you've got to you've got to deposit kindness into that relationship. If you understand me, you've got to put something in to be able to take something out. But that's quite simply engaging with an audience. That's commenting on people's posts. It's, you know, adding value to people's posts. I did a post yesterday talking about personal branding, which is a bit, yeah, we've all been there and talked about personal branding. But Matthew Parker, who maybe many you may know Matthew, he posted something, I think it was last week, about the topic, and it made me think actually. And I thought, I'm going to post something of my own on that topic, and you know, said, what is personal brand? You know, how easy is it to change? You know, blah blah blah. And then Mark very said, yeah, this is perspective, Nigel, blah blah blah. And you know, so he had a bit of a, you know, he dig me in the ribs a little. And so what did I do? I dig back in the ribs. But do I think any less of Mark for that? No, we both. Our relationship sort of goes one step further because we know we can have that dialogue with each other with mutual complete respect, and you know, and anybody looking in at that, when people do, you know, for every one participator on LinkedIn, there are at least 9 lurkers. You know, the number of people who actually contribute either through posts or through engagement are very, very small as a percentage of the whole, but there are a lot of people looking in. And seeing those conversations are building trust in that personal brand, so that when they may need what you have, you might be privileged for them to come to you. So it's just about building that brand over time for it to be an inbound source of opportunity when the moment arises.
I totally get it. I mean, so you can have banter, what we call banter. You know, you can have enjoyable banter on posts. I do think there's a line between, because I like LinkedIn. LinkedIn's a good work tool for me, and I'm quite disciplined as a work tool. But you know, it's not Facebook, and there's a lot of people get confused between LinkedIn and Facebook. I don't really want to know, you know, someone's had a good weekend with their family. I'm not really, me personally, I don't think that's a subject. Do you find that people grey the lines between LinkedIn and Facebook?
It's very much the case that the line has shifted, and I'm sure you're all finding the same. It's certainly becoming a more personal platform than a purely business platform, and that differential seems to be shifting ever to more personal. Personally, if I'm honest, I'm not in favor of that. I don't particularly like it. Not that I'm boring, not that I'm, you know, don't want to have a bit of fun. Complete opposite. I love having relationships and chat, but to the extent to which I'm finding a greater number of posts that, you know, are, I can't know, let's say, deliberately tugging on the heartstrings for an audience, doesn't attract me one at all, but it seems to garner a lot of attention. And sadly, of course, you know, if LinkedIn thinks, oh, well, these personal posts are getting lots of attention, you know, they're getting all the numbers, they're getting the reactions, perhaps we'll increase the amount of personal content, because that seems to be where the engagement comes. But, you know, I just think, I think the cycle will come to an end, because there's only so many times, and you've only got so many grandmas that can die. And I'm being obtuse, but you take the point. You know, how many sort of stories can anyone come out with before the capacity for empathy and sympathy just has disappeared? You know, like, oh, here we go again, another. You know, being really awful, another suicide. You know, like, hang on a minute. The point when people are doing that, LinkedIn is surely have to go backtrack on this, because it simply won't work. Now, I'm being obtuse to make the point. Of course, I'm completely sympathetic, and I get these personal stories, and you know, my heart aches for them. But the extent to which they seem to dominate my feed right now just seems to be taking it too far for me personally. That's just me. You know, I still think we're here fundamentally as a professional platform to meet and engage amongst professionals like ourselves. You know, yes, we need to be human to have a personality to be interesting to each other, but the extent to which that do I have to, you know, bear all to be attractive to anybody? No, surely not. Surely that can't be the way this is going. So, you know, I'm sharing my personal opinions here, you know, because we're in a, you know, this is Chatham House rules, and we're amongst friends. I'm just telling you what I feel. there may be people on the call right now that, you know, think quite differently. And you know what? I don't make the rules. You know, we can each use this platform in a way that we choose and that works for us. And, you know, there isn't one way to cut this, I would say. Anybody else want to voice? I've given you a very personal opinion on this, probably overly shared, but anybody feel differently? I'm just curious. Does anybody like this personal tone that's developing?
I've just
No, I actually find it painful. I find it painful. I do. I think that's what Facebook's for, and it's almost just the quickest way for me to unfollow somebody if they keep posting things about what they did this weekend and it's a nice sunny day and great. I mean, if I have to do that, you're going to get very bored with me, because for 3 months or the next 3 months I'm going to be posting it's a beautiful sunny day every day. It's boring, and I just think sometimes people have got nothing to say, so they think that they have to post something as boring as that, and I think people are going to get interested in it. I don't know. It's just
but there are people who promote doing that. They're saying if you don't post and be present all the time, you will lose points on your personal branding meter. So, you know, I agree. I completely agree with you, Gene. Yeah, I don't like the personal stuff on it. It makes me feel uncomfortable that I'm suddenly engaged in something, you know, about the person's cancer story or daughter's leukemia story. And it reminds me of all the memes that used to go out. Can I get 20 likes because I just turned 106? Or 106 likes, I would guess. Whatever. It's not business. I do this for business. I do Crown Pub for business. This is a relating thing. Warren, you're dying because you post stuff about fishing all the time. So I don't know.
Yeah, but if I'm putting, if I'm talking about passion, fishing, determination, motivation, then that's how I tie it in. That's how I see it. I don't think it's anybody's right to really tell anybody whether I agree or not is irrelevant. I just don't think it's anyone's right to tell them what they post has meaning. If it has meaning to the person who's posting it and they have followers who appreciate what they're posting, who the hell am I to tell them what to do?
Exactly.
Start a blog site.
No, that's Europe, but we all become very personal and opinionated in what we say, right? It really is. If you don't like that person, don't follow them.
There is a line.
That's the beautiful thing about connect, not connect, and disconnect, right?
Absolutely. We have the power to choose.
By the way, I mean, you make the fishing reference. I can't tell you how many notes I get on the side from people with positive energy, exciting, liking it. If they're liking it and I'm liking it, why won't I keep posting it? For the person who doesn't like it, easier to get rid of them.
Likes are one thing. I'd love to see the metrics on how much business has been, done from that.
Well, if you're going to live under basing everything on metrics of business, that's something else.
God forbid.
The business people that I meet, it's not based on today. It's over time.
That's a good point, Nigel.
Wasn't it Keynes who said the job of a business is to create wealth, not fish scales?
And what does wealth mean, and how do you determine what wealth is?
Money.
Well, that's
it's
true.
so philosophical, isn't
money,
it?
Robert, though. It's not just money, is it? It's happiness, and money's a
Fulfillment.
byproduct of being successful. I think money is secondary to why I love to get money doing what I'm doing, but it is the second thing. It's that you want to achieve the result first, and the money will come. If you do a good job, the money will come, I think.
There is a guy who I follow because I'm personally motivated by spite. And I think he is the most revolting wanker on the planet.
It's not me, is it?
It's no one in this room, is it, Paul?
It's a fellow called Mitesh Chauhan. And I don't mind saying his name, but he posts, so in lockdown, all the time there's a financial problem. He used to put posts on LinkedIn about his magnificent new manor house, and it is beautiful. But the tone and the references that he was using at a time when people were enduring hardship was beyond offensive. And he actually did more damage to his brand than his ego will ever allow him to understand. And I followed him just to watch his self-implosion. Fascinating character. He stopped doing it now because somebody must have honestly put an arm around and saying, Mitesh, what the fuck are you doing, mate? Everybody's gone nuts with you. But this went on for a long time. And that's the kind of branding That's the kind of personal branding that is dislikable. Seeing Warren land a big fish, I kind of like that. Because you guys, you weirdos, and you are weirdos, and if anybody says they're not, you're deluding yourself. You weirdos have become my close personal friends and inspiration for the last 2.5 years. I listen to Robert, I listen to Chris, I listen to Dorinda, and I always get something out of you.
There's more to selling than just a product.
thank
I
you,
think
Paul.
there has a personal brand, and you have to, people need to get to know you, to trust you. And this is all part of it. It needs to be mixed. It can't be all one or all of the other. I bought a carpet in Turkey one time, and the guy told me, I will not sell this carpet to you until you have a coffee with me, during which time he engaged in a conversation to see if there was some trust between us. Then we negotiated a deal. It was the best lesson I ever found in sales. There
And then
has
he
to be
ripped
a
you off on the
personal
carpet.
But can I just finish? Can I just finish what I was
I
saying?
overpaid.
There's one little bit that's incredibly important in all of this. I don't mind Warren posting about catching fish, but they are tiny, aren't they, mate? Can you not get any big ones? They're really small.
Oh,
Maybe you got
size doesn't matter, Paul.
It's what you do with it.
So, Elizabeth,
Talk
you-
about going off
Spoken
topic.
like a true man, that one.
yeah, Elizabeth, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say that surely, so going back to the old adage that people buy from people. So first and foremost, you have to have a personality. Good, bad, people will take you, leave you, like you, not like you. That's personal choice. The same as reading content is personal choice. You do it, you don't do it. Nobody is forcing you to sit there and do it. It's not a sort of, you know, one of those where you're tied to a chair and you're forced to look at a screen that says this is what you're reading. Skip past it. You don't need to do it. If you see it more than once from the same person, ditch them. As Nigel said, you have so many options. But why should a person who feels passionate about something, who has professional stroke friend relationships, because let's face it, we all started off as a professional collective. I would like to think that in more cases than not, the people in this group today, most of us would class each other as friends or professional friends rather than that. So there is no clear defining line that says this is completely professional, this is completely friends. Therefore, LinkedIn versus Facebook, as it has become the common terminology for that. So actually, because if we were taking that standpoint, we wouldn't be talking about the things we're talking about now. We wouldn't be expressing the comments and having a little bit of banter and all that sort of thing. It would be entirely about business. It would be entirely about work. We would all be board rigid, and how many people would come back next week?
Well said.
By
I'm
the way,
just asking that question.
what about
Yeah.
all the shitty business posts that make no sense, that are nonsense and trash?
So,
Take up
Warren,
more
you don't
time.
make my post that often, so you can't say that.
I wasn't talking to you directly. I would have said your name. I'm not afraid. No, but there's
those
so.
too.
I mean, who determines where's the garbage police, right?
so listen, that's the perfect point. So, Nigel, by us liking people's shit and people's good shit and people's excellent shit, are we creating the beasts? Are we encouraging people to post more shit or more great stuff or more great content? So is LinkedIn becoming more non-business and more personal because the audience is responding to people's actions with likes and dislikes and applauses and all that crap?
Yeah, I mean, when content sort of triggers an emotional response in you, and I'm guilty of this as well. You know, you kind of want to support it or like it or comment on it more. You know, so inevitably there's a sense when something has that emotional context, it's going to be more respondable to, let's say. The challenge we all face, let's be honest, is, you know, once we've given the top 10 benefits of having a digital inkjet printer, and we've said it twice over the course of 10 weeks, and where do we go next? That's going to become really boring very quickly, other than to a very tiny audience that gets off on inkjet printing. I'm making this up, yeah. So in order for us to be you know, to be interesting, we have to add this element of our personal interest brands. We've got to be people first and business minded second. I think it's just the question is where do we find, and this is the most difficult thing I ever have to try and explain, where for every individual is that line drawn for you? How much of you are you going to share as a part of your personal brand in order to achieve what you want to achieve? Now, I know where my parameters are, and every now and again I will share something personal, not because I think it's going to garner interest and more clicks or likes. It's because actually I'm a human being, and I feel like, you know, I'll share the upsides of life, and if when I have some downsides, I might share those too. So every now and again, you know, I will share something, you know, personal, and it might get more clicks and likes. But to use an expression that was asked earlier, how does that drive any business? You know, I might get more. No, I don't think it does. But at least for those people who see me as a rounded person, you're getting to understand me, and either you trust and like me, you know, you think my chemistry is good for us to work together, or it isn't, and that's fine. You know, none of us here in this room will meet 100 people and chemically and, you know, emotionally get on with them all. It just doesn't happen that way.
I will.
Oh, thank you.
Well, wait a minute. What you're describing is, you know, using that personal thing to, you know, to Elizabeth's points, people buy from people. Let me know who you are, and then I will consider a relationship with you where I put my ass on the line by doing business with you. All of that's well and good, and I don't really disagree with any of that. But when you talk about making that personal connection by posting something that helps do that, you tread the line with clickbait. You know, at some point, wow, if I post this little thing, a lot of people are going to really click on this, and I'll make new friends and do a lot of business. And there are people who are coaches for using LinkedIn who promote exactly that in detail. That's true in e-commerce. If somebody wanted to travel, to start an e-commerce travel site, there are coaches that go in there and tell you, use algorithms, pick up stuff that exists, change a few words, and post it there. It has nothing to do with who you really are. It has to do with driving people to your site. It's clickbait, and there's nothing genuine about it. That is my response, right or wrong, to many of those personal posts that go on to LinkedIn. So there you go.
Yeah. At the end of the day, we're all selling bullshit to somebody. I mean, who are we kidding? This whole thing is not. I mean, it's all nonsense. Everyone's trying to sell. Everyone has their own way of getting someone, reaching out to someone, connecting with them.
Stop it, Warren. You're stepping on your own dick. Don't do that. Don't do that. You're not trying to sell
I'm not
stuff
claiming
that
not
doesn't
to
have
do
value.
it. And when we talk about doing business, who determines what the business is and what it's worth and how much business it is in what way?
Well, that's what prospecting is about. When you find the customer that wants what you're selling, and Warren, there's no question. I know you personally, I've met you personally.
Yeah.
You believe in what it is that you're asking people to do for themselves. There's not a question there. The thing is that you can't go into the negative side of it and saying that to some of the people, what I'm going to say is complete bullshit. That's prospecting. And you should be aware enough as a salesperson or an influencer to understand when you're talking to the wrong audience. I mean, Kelvin,
you don't know who your audience
all the
is.
time.
You don't know who your audience is today at any given time
So,
because of the access of so many people.
That's the problem with a broadcast.
Just to get back on topic,
broadcast.
Hang on.
There's something fishy about this conversation. Mark?
Can I ask the expert a question? Because that's why he's here.
Yeah.
We're all talking about our own personal brand and whatever else, but most of us will be part of a company that's got a corporate page. Is it worth spending a lot of time trying to get your corporate page to be effective, or is LinkedIn not really about that? It's really about people. So should we just, with a corporate page, just have one for the sake of having it so people can go there and find information, but you're never going to make any really effective posts that really make a difference? What do you say?
Without doubt, relationships are built by people engaging with people. That's absolutely the fact. And LinkedIn, like it or not, is made up of members, you and I, who can engage and interact with each other. The bottom line is we can't interact with a company page, nor the content from a company page. You know, we don't know who's behind it. We don't know who's written it. Now, it would be silly to say, therefore, don't worry about your company page, because we need to have one. We need to identify our business through it and, you know, fill all the columns and the things and do our stuff on it. And the answer to that question is much more sophisticated than the time allows here, depending probably on the size of the company and the size and type of your audience. But pound for pound, minute for minute of time spent on LinkedIn, if you're able to, in any business, have your people engaged on the platform proportionally great to a greater extent than worrying about what the company page does, you'll have an infinitely greater benefit and outcome from all those people engaging and knowing how to utilize LinkedIn than ever you will derive a benefit from doing your company page. So it's with more time at it, I could go into sort of deeper nuances of that. What I would add to that, just to be fair and balanced in the question, is that LinkedIn are doing a great deal right now to try and improve the company page outcomes. They're doing improved things with company page. The company page now can have a newsletter, which was only limited to people having newsletters. You can establish skills and appropriate products with company pages. So there's lots of sophisticated things going on within company pages. But the bottom line is still that follow the money. Why would LinkedIn put company page news onto any of our homepage feeds for free? That's its model of business return. So the only way you're ever going to get support of your company content going into somebody's page feed is if you pay for the privilege. It becomes promoted. So whilst that's not a part of the LinkedIn's revenue mechanism, company page content will never typically find its way into our homepage feeds because it doesn't get engaged with, so algorithmically it's already dead before it starts, and secondly, nobody interacts with it, so it still remains dead. The only people who are going to typically engage with company page content are the employees who go, oh, yeah, corporate marketing department say we must like and share this. Job done. No, job's not done. If you look at any company page content, it's largely liked and very, very little commented on, but by 50% of the people who work for the business anyway. So it becomes a vacuous attempt to reach out. So I'm just trying to be balanced in my answer because I'm totally for personal engagement. In my mechanism, my strategy. There are other people out there that are trying to push the company page agenda. I'm trying to be balanced in my approach. But for me,
what a directory, those company pages. I mean, LinkedIn for a sales guy is just a wealth of information, isn't it? You can just find out everything you want, really, about that company. A couple of times you've mentioned the word, and Mark's mentioned it as well, personal brand. I think personal brand is something that a lot of people don't quite understand on LinkedIn. Is it important? Should we have one? How do we manage the personal brand?
Everybody on this call has got a personal brand, like it or not. It is what people see of us and talk about us when we're not in the room. So you can't not have a personal brand.
Unlucky, Paul.
It's about if you like, managing that brand or articulating that brand to get out to an audience that you desire. So we all have one, like it or not, is my opinion on this. The question that Matthew Parker raised on his post was, well, what happens if I don't like my personal brand? Well, that's like, well, your personal brand is you. So you're saying you don't like yourself? Well, no, I don't like myself, really. Oh, well, that's a different whole psychological problem we've got here. Okay, I can't address that. Can you change your personal brand? Well, yes, you can. You just, you can be more open and honest. You can be more professional. You can be more giving, or receiving. We all have an option to change how we are. But the bottom line is, what do people say about us when we've left the room is what our personal brand really is. It's our reputation, isn't it? It's just what we are. It would be interesting if you want to sort of look at that topic and the comments on a post I did a couple of days ago. Not that I'm promoting you all going to look at my stuff, but if you want to understand this, I articulate this kind of question in a post, and a lot of people have been kind enough to answer, comment on what their belief about it is, which is quite good.
Yeah.
I think though, Nigel, before, when you were saying before about posting something a little bit personal, and I remember you posting about, and I hope I don't upset you bringing this up, about your parents a while ago.
Yeah.
But I really related to that because I've had a similar situation with my mum and dad, albeit the other way around. And I think it's relating to somebody. I think it's having that trust, but I think it's just sharing what you're happy with. You don't have to go into everything, do you? But from time to time, you want people to get to know you because they might not meet you in other circumstances. And also you want somebody to remember you, because if you want to sell in whatever capacity, you don't want someone to go, who was that guy, that great guy at Fuji? What was his name? You want people to go, Mark, remember Mark, and he works at Fuji. Not exactly. Fuji and who's the guy at Fuji. You need to be remembered, don't you, as well?
Yeah, keep going.
I think the difference with my approach when I do those occasional posts is I'm not looking to garner a new audience. That's absolutely not what I'm doing. I'm looking to inform the audience of friends and compassionate, loving people that I already engage with on LinkedIn. Say this is happening in my life right now, as you would with your friends. So I'm sort of doing it to alert an audience of existing supporters, as opposed to, if I do the particularly emotional post, perhaps I'll attract a whole new audience. Not at all. That's not in my makeup. I'm not saying it's not what some people do. I'm just saying that's not why I do it. I'm simply saying, hey, this is happening in my life. It's a thing that's happening to me right now. And in that context, when other people reveal a part of their lives that I've built relationships with, and so, and something happens to them and they share it, boy, am I sympathetic, and I want to support and engage, as you would for a friend, as you would for somebody a colleague at work or whatever. You'd want to be that person to be there for them, wouldn't you? And I like to think I am genuinely sincere about it. I'm just questioning whether the whole of this movement is as sincere as perhaps we'd hope. I get
that. I think like everything else, you're going to have those people that are sincere, but with all this technology and what we have, unfortunately, it's taken over by people who mass send stuff out, or they spam, or they find ways to pretend not to be someone else. It's getting tougher and tougher just to be an honest, good person online in general.
With a sense,
it doesn't matter what platform you're on.
With a sense of humor, you've got to be careful of your sense of humor now online, haven't you?
I don't care about that, but no, but it's getting really hard everywhere, because you don't even know. I've had on LinkedIn actually just recently someone messaging me from wherever, talking, and then all of a sudden, what's your phone number? Can we talk on WhatsApp? And I'm like, go fuck yourself. I don't want to talk on WhatsApp to you. What do you want to cozy up to me? I mean, forget. So everybody's doing their own thing, and everybody's
hurtful when you rejected me, by the way.
Sorry, was that you? Was that you? Who was
I was just going to say the same, Paul. You're really rude. Only wants to have a chat.
I'm still broken, you nasty little man.
Well, next time take the wig off. I didn't know it was you.
Back on track. Back on track. So Nigel, Rob posted something in the chat a little while ago, because I still don't know when the best time is to post. So Rob asked, when is the best time to post? We're told on a Tuesday or Shrove Wednesday or whatever.
Yeah, I think there isn't a standard answer to that, if I'm honest, Kelvin. But so what I would say to everybody is, why don't you test it? Why don't you try different times and see what works for you? Having tested it myself, okay, I find that the best times for me to post are on a Tuesday or a Thursday morning, probably 8 a.m. at UK time, so that I'm potentially in the feed of people, opening the mobile, looking at the feed, checking out LinkedIn. Oh, Nigel's appeared, and because the interaction with that content in the first few hours is critical to the likely amplification of that post thereafter. Okay, that is critical. So whatever you're thinking, think of, well, are my audience available and ready to react to this content in the next couple of hours? Because if you post it at 11 o'clock at night in the UK, 11 p.m., then there's going to be so little interaction with that between 11 and 6 a.m. the following morning that by the morning it's probably already dead. The post has come and gone because it's had no interaction, because one of the stimulus for it getting increased engagement is that interaction with it. So you have to be mindful of what audience you serve, where they are, what their habits are, and if you can tap into that and test it, by seeing what happens, then that's the more qualified answer. But Tuesday and Thursday mornings for me works. But I did have one post I did on a Sunday a couple of years ago, where I'd spent ages developing this, and I got pretty tired of trying to write this particular complex that piece I was writing, and it got to 2 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon. I was, just send it. I was, and I was aiming this particular piece of content actually at sort of CEOs effectively. And do you know what? At 9 and 10 o'clock at night that day on the Sunday, I found myself not able to get off the app for all these questions and an interaction that was happening from my target market CEOs on a Sunday night at like 10 o'clock. And I just figured that actually, they think they don't have time to probably get onto LinkedIn during the week. It's Sunday night, they're checking the diary, they're relaxing, they've got a glass of wine. It's their moment for half an hour on LinkedIn in a week, and I just caught the wave. And now I couldn't catch that wave every time I did something. So that taught me that actually, do you know what? If you do quality content, it will find its audience, whatever. Okay. So, I don't get too fussed about the timing. Its quality will ride the wave of timing. But if you want to stimulate the timing, just be aware of your audience is available to interact with it.
Yeah. How frequently do you post?
I always find that the posts that I think are going to be smashing because they're really relevant and the content is great, do nothing. And the ones that I'm like, all of a sudden, those are the ones. I don't think there's a rhyme or reason for anything almost anymore.
No, I absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think I've written a fabulous piece. That's the best thing I've ever.
4 people see it.
Yeah.
Just go back.
There is a lesson there actually, which I will share, and it's what we do is as experts in our fields, we find stimulating the things that are pushing the boundaries. Naturally, don't ever forget that your audience is not where you are, and therefore they're finding much simpler things interesting and relevant to their experience. So, for example, if I write something really sophisticated about the LinkedIn algorithm shifting from this to that, like tumbleweed, if I say, hey, have you thought about smiling in your profile picture? Oh yeah. Lots of people are going, that's a great idea. Like, come on. Do we need to be told to smile on our profile picture? Damn it, we've moved on from that, haven't we? So yeah, just a reflection.
Just going back to the company pages, because G posted something interesting. The problem with most corporate pages is the crap that's posted in them. G, you post quite a lot. I'm not saying it's crap, you post some good stuff. You do. But why do you think companies are posting crap on their company pages?
I think the problem with company pages is quite often, and obviously this is just a generalization, but I think quite often what you've got a hierarchical approval cycle. And since it's got the company's name to it, you've got a bunch of individuals who think the company page is an ad for the company. And so and obviously the other point that Nigel mentioned, the anonymity of the company page, Elizabeth said that people are buying from people. The company page is the absolute antithesis of that, right? So you haven't got that that closeness, that intimacy that you have when you're dealing with a certain person. The problem with most company pages is they just post boring crap. It's just insipid, vanilla, generic information, pushing information. There's no opportunity for engagement of that information because it's like a press release or some bollocks, right? There's no meat in the sandwich. And when you get down to the individual level, when you are looking at you're following a person rather than a company, you're embracing the values or the frame of mind of that individual. Somebody might follow Mark at Fuji, but may not follow, his colleague at Fuji because they don't like him, right? But obviously everybody at Fujifilm is absolutely fantastic individuals.
Oh, wonderful people.
Wonderful people. I mean, nobody to say a bad word against them. But that's what I mean about company pages. As an individual, when it's just down to you, you're more likely to take a punt, take a gamble, and sort of, go outside of your comfort zone, which you would never do, or probably never be allowed to do, as the steward of a company page.
Correct. Yeah, completely agree.
That's a good point. That is a good point. Just moving along, because I'm conscious we're going rounding out. Nigel, where's it all going? Where's LinkedIn going? Is it going to be that it'll ping us when one of our connections is physically beside us, and we can take things offline? Where's LinkedIn? What's the journey of LinkedIn? Do you know?
We've talked about this personal thing. I hope this journey of personal content sort of halts. For me personally, that's what I'd like to see. And I kind of suspect it will, otherwise it will become another Facebook and people will leave because why am I here? I didn't want this to become Facebook. So I think LinkedIn are bringing out so many additional new features on the platform right now at a volume that I've never experienced. You know, there's so many new things happening functionally, that a lot of which in the past, some of these things were like, so what, who asked for that? You know, we didn't need that, but there are lots of new things that are happening. So I'd say keep an eye on all those new features that are happening. Yeah, I mean, I've got a whole list of 20 odd things that have happened in the last few months alone. But what I would say, individual use of those, just because LinkedIn audio events has become a thing, just because this has become a feature, doesn't mean you've got to jump on the bandwagon and use them all. What I'd say is, you know, stick true to what you can manage and continuously commit to doing, you know, and just have a pattern that helps you get to where you want to go. You know, don't be entertained or drawn in by the bells and whistles, because like everything, you know, that in life, that, you know, most of the time we spend our time doing the same thing with the dishwasher that we've always done, despite the fact that it'll probably do upside down and back to front. You know, we just press the same buttons, don't we? I think it's a bit the same on LinkedIn. Despite the bells and whistles, turning up, showing up, having a professional profile are the defaults that, you know, we should all adopt. As for future technologies and proximity things going on like that, LinkedIn did try that actually with the, do you remember that little feature on the app where you've got a little green spot next to your name that told you whether you know somebody in the vicinity is turned on? You know, I never liked that anyway. You know, I want to be in control of what I talk to, not just be present for other people to be sort of bombard me. So I didn't like that feature anyway. But yeah, there's lots of things happening. It ain't going anywhere away anytime soon. I hope the personal stuff stops. You know, find out what works for you is my overarching comment here, and be consistent and persistent on the platform. You know, most business to business sales are not created in an afternoon. It takes time to build your brand, but I do know, and you know, all my clients experience the fact that when you do this consistently and you do it well, and you do it in the right way over time, then it delivers results. Guaranteed, if you do this correctly. You know, it's unbelievable. I'm still excited by, you know, the possibilities one can achieve on LinkedIn, even though I've done it now for a decade full time. So
Nigel, honestly, whenever you come and speak to us, we're so grateful. It's so interesting and it goes by so quickly. We're past the hour. We're here. We've all got to go back to our jobs now. It's an hour break. We're back. Mark, are we back next week or the week after?
I don't know. I'm not here. I'm in Liechtenstein. So
and I'm at the Prince Show. So I'll post something on there. Quick hello and welcome again to the people who've joined us for the first time. Daniela and Kaiser who went there, and Harold. It was great to see everybody this week. 82 years ago today, do you know what it was? It was the Battle of Britain, when the Battle of Britain was fought. And I only just found that out before. And I found that out on LinkedIn. How strange is that? Everyone, great to see everyone. Glad everyone's safe. Follow us on LinkedIn and we'll be back and we'll keep on posting. And yeah, let's just stay in touch and make sure they're all okay out there. All right.
Thanks for having me, everybody. Appreciate it.
Okay, Nigel.
Thanks, Nigel.
Thank you very much.
Great session.
Fantastic. Brilliant.
Cheers.
Always great.